Follow the Delaware River south below Philadelphia, into the state that shares its name, past the urban hum of Wilmington, under the final bridge that spans it, over an island of nature and history, to where it widens, and then land on its western shore. You've arrived, and you've discovered Delaware's Bayshore. Formed by sediments carried by streams and rivers for millions of years, Delaware's Bayshore region has always been defined by the interplay of water and earth. That dynamic has shaped this landscape for centuries, creating distinct landforms as fresh water has flowed slowly through creeks, into rivers, then salt marshes, and finally into Delaware Bay. It was inevitable that this constant mixing of soil, water, and salt would produce diverse habitats with unique plant, animal, and more recently, human communities. Stretching from Newcastle in the north to Lewis in the south, and east from Route 1 to Delaware Bay, these lands are some of the least developed in Delaware, and yet were among the first settled in the state. The Dukes family arrived back in the early 1600s, when they settled at the mouth of the Blackbird Creek, part of the upper Bayshore region.
Blackbird has been part of her life as long as I can remember, and my ancestors before me. They had been involved with the Hudson Bay Fur Company. So when they came down and saw the Delaware marshes with all the muskrat houses, that was really a drawing card.
Through 10 generations, the Dukes have cultivated and cherished their special relationship with their piece of the Bayshore. Along with many of their neighbors, they participate in Delaware's Farmland Preservation Program, which enables landowners to retain their property and maintain their traditional way of life. But 300 years of local stewardship and use have also produced some of the Bayshore's most unique wetland areas.
The Dutch went to diking and reclaiming the land, using the wetlands in an agricultural fashion. The wetlands were fertile, and they probably were more comfortable with reclaiming the wetlands than doing a lot of cutting into the forests.
These diked areas, or impoundments, often located directly adjacent to tidal waters, were created years ago for agriculture, flood and mosquito control, and waterfowl hunting. Today, these wetland habitats are fully integrated into this diverse landscape, hosting well-established plant and animal communities. While still used seasonally by hunters and trappers, many of these state-owned areas have been enhanced with the infrastructure needed to offer the public exceptional wildlife viewing opportunities year-round. Only a short distance inland, the landscape changes dramatically. Open marsh and farmland give way to forested uplands that are home to a completely different mix of plant and animal species. They also contain ancient low-lying depressions that fill with water only during the winter and early spring, forming unique temporary wetlands known as ephemeral or Delmarva pools.
There's many different types of Delmarva pools in the Delaware Bayshore. We have large ones like this, and we have very small ones, down the size of puddles. All these are very valuable to wildlife, especially amphibians.
Spotted salamanders, barking tree frogs, and other unusual creatures spend their entire lives quietly around these hidden, seasonal freshwater pools. But there are also many other diverse natural areas found along Delaware's Bayshore. The central region contains one of the largest forested uplands in the state, the Milford Neck Conservation Area. Here, a visitor can walk quietly in solitude amongst tall pines, completely unaware they are only a short distance from the salt marshes and Delaware Bay. These forests and wetlands support diverse wildlife, including wild turkeys, woodpeckers, and otters. Yet only a short distance away, on the bay's sandy beaches, another one-of-a-kind natural event occurs each spring. An epic drama that plays out as two of the world's largest animal migrations come together in a spectacular gathering. Millions of horseshoe crabs, drawn by warming waters and circadian rhythms, swarm Bayshore beaches to spawn and lay their eggs. On cue, thousands of migrating shorebirds, on their annual journey north to the Arctic, arrive to gorge themselves on this rich banquet. This annual event draws crowds of visitors as well, who come to witness and celebrate this unique and miraculous annual phenomenon. Finally, to the south, as Delaware Bay widens, the Bayshore landscape changes again. Long sandy beaches, occasionally dotted with small, quiet communities, border vast inland salt marshes. These barrier beaches serve people, plants, and animals, while also protecting the adjoining wetlands from the bay's dramatic weather. These marshes, some of the largest in the state, support numerous diverse life forms, including diamondback terrapins, northern harriers, and many wading birds. They also buffer the neighboring forested uplands, home to very different species, including the rare Delmarva fox squirrel. These habitats, so close together and yet so different, inevitably draw human visitors as well. Whether first encountering the Bayshore at an annual festival or returning to a familiar quiet spot, human visitors value this landscape for the same reason other species do: its unspoiled vastness. From upland to shoreline, the Delaware Bayshore is a continuous ribbon of interdependent natural habitats. This connectivity is what draws tens of thousands of snow geese to spend their winters at the two national wildlife refuges found there. It is also a tribute to the historic integrity of the local families, farmers, communities, and conservation partners that continue to maintain it. Yet Delaware's Bayshore is challenged in ways as never before. Climate change and sea level rise now threaten much of its shoreline and have begun affecting inland areas as well.
Up in the forest areas, especially where the forest meets the beach and the dunes, those are the areas that I spend a lot of time in. And there's, for one thing, a lot more open water now. A lot more of those marshes have converted to open water as we've had trees dying from the salt intrusion.
Saltwater intrusion, due to rising tides and increasingly dramatic weather events, now threatens some upland forests, challenging even the healthiest trees and undergrowth. But it's not just forest habitat that's being affected.
All of this was farmland. I mean, the whole field was tillable, very productive. We didn't have the saltwater encroachment problem 50 years ago that is occurring now.
At the same time, development is encroaching from the west, marring once scenic vistas, fragmenting habitat, and impacting the Bayshore's traditional ways of life.
It was just a country road going from our house to Odessa, and now there are housing developments just left and right.
Delaware's open space, farmland preservation, and other government programs have protected some of this remarkable natural landscape. Public-private partnerships have been key to the conservation efforts in the Bayshore. All these efforts have shared similar core objectives: conservation through land acquisition and enhancement of natural resources. The results have been impressive. Much of Delaware's Bayshore is protected. This continuous ribbon of green is enjoyed year-round by people and animals alike, whether they call it home or only visit for a short time. Yet these new threats now demand an even greater strategic planning and conservation effort. For this reason, landowners, conservation groups, and government agencies have partnered together to form the Delaware Bayshore Initiative. The partners' goals are simple: expand and improve the significant conservation investment already made, and focus on securing new holdings vital to the Bayshore's future integrity. To do so will require an even greater effort by those already committed and by those willing to join in realizing this shared vision. The challenge is great, but by broadening and strengthening these partnerships, the Delaware Bayshore's future can be assured and fulfill the dream of those who have long cared so deeply about it.
Well, just hope that the generations coming after us will be as proud of it as we are and do their very best to take care of it. Keep it as pure as possible forever.